Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
To be safe and get to the finish in one piece, and that's what it boils down to, safety first.
Yeah, Brad, you're absolutely right. It is about safety. It's about safety and enjoyment. There are folks that are going to be racing this event, and we ask them to be cognizant of the fact that there are folks that are doing it socially. My appeal to the guys that are doing it socially, and I'm one of those, is that be cognizant of the fact that there are racing teams coming up behind you and keep to the left-hand side of the road. Allow those racing teams to pass through and allow them to come through as quickly as possible. We will have think bike marshals on the route, and they will be keeping an eye on you. Rena's going to talk to some of what they're going to be doing, but know this and know it well, they are going to be keeping an eye on us, the cyclists that are participating. Please take note of the caution signage along the route, and that's from when you leave right away until you get back into Swellendam. A concern for me this year is they are about to start roadworks between Montague and Ashton. The road is not in great condition. It's no worse than it was last year, but it's no better than it was last year. So we're asking you to be exceptionally cautious from the time you turn into Montague on the R62 until the time you get to Ashton, the feed zone. The road is not in great condition. So please keep a wary eye out for kind of subsidences in the road and potholes, and the edge of the road is not great. So just keep your eyes open and remember that the road is not in fantastic condition.
Okay, so that's the start and getting away safely and what you need to bear in mind early on in the race. We'll get through the actual route itself in just a moment and look at that profile. But once all the riders are off, there's obviously team cars and support vehicles that need to get to where they need to go as well, and that's what we're going to look at now, and I'll hand it back to Renee.
Yeah, once the teams have set off, the team support vehicles need to head straight to Ashton. Last year was the first year that we introduced the no seconding rule on the route. So there's actually quite a bit of time that the drivers can take to head over to Ashton. I think there's something like 2.5 hours before the first riders would actually arrive in Ashton. So the team support vehicles and drivers can take their time to head over to Ashton. As I said, very important, no seconding will be allowed on the route. So we will also have signage and the maps in the booklet directing them to the Ashton support zone. And I think then just to run through a couple of etiquette and logistics around the team support zones and the rules for team support vehicles. We will have commissaires on the route and the think bike marshals, and they will be monitoring the behaviour of the cyclists and the team support vehicles. So for those drivers, don't think you're going to sneak in elsewhere on the route and do some secret supporting. We will have our spies out on the route, and then it's just for safety that we're doing it, and to be fair to all of the teams. So if you do get spotted either as a team infringing on the rules or as a team support driver infringing the rules, those offences will be called into our joint operations centre. If it's a team support vehicle, I would probably be the one calling you and giving you a warning on the day. The teams, of course, we won't be calling them because they're riding, but you will be called in at the end of the event, and the commissaires will have a nice chat to you. And of course, if there are any protests logged, we will first investigate those before we will proceed with prize giving. So just very important, the team driver is part of the team. I think it's something that we've been pressing on for the last couple of years. If the team support driver is misbehaving, the team can face disqualification. So we just want to stress it over and over again that the team support drivers must follow the rules as well. The team has been training for months to get to this day and have an enjoyable day. The last thing we want is for the team to arrive at the finish and then be told they have been disqualified because the team support driver have been misbehaving on the route. So yeah, I think that's just some of the rules. Then just on the etiquette for arriving at your team support zone, it is quite important. The two spots, Bonnievale and Ashton, is quite small areas, and to fit 250 teams in is a challenge. So make sure that you park off the road in the designated parking areas. The parking base will be allocated according to your team race number and in batches. So if you we'll start off with 1 to 10, for instance. And if you're the first to arrive, just park at the top and allow enough space for vehicles to park behind you. And then because there isn't a lot of space, and we're not encouraging people to put up gazebos and go mad with putting out the cooler boxes, I think just be considerate of the other teams around you, but also enjoy it and make sure that when your team arrives, you're ready and waiting for them and have all of the goodies ready to eat and drink. And then, of course, we will have toilet facilities in both areas. The toilets will be spread out along that 2.5 kilometers space. And then, please, if we can just ask of the teams and the team drivers to keep the area clean and to not leave any litter behind. And we've get our permissions and our permits from the province and from the local municipalities. And we don't want to get a call to say that we won't be allowed to close that road again because the teams misbehaved. So we can just stress that again. Then, very important, both in Ashton and in Bonnievale, the team support zone, we actually have full road closure. That's apart from Trudeau Pass and a few road closures around the venue, those are the only other roads that are fully closed. So in order for the team support vehicle to enter that area, you must have your accreditation on your windscreen. That's the accreditation that you will receive in your pack at the number collection at registration. Make sure you know your team race number. Now, some people might laugh at, but we've had calls in the past where the team driver doesn't actually know the team race number, but we do, of course, print that number on the accreditation sticker, so just get out your car and have a look at your windscreen. And then, although the road is closed, just proceed with caution. Lots of cyclists arriving and overtaking this area, and then, of course, the support vehicles traveling at the same time. It is a neutral zone, so just be careful. So the drivers and cyclists, just be aware of each other. And, I think then just also important is to mention that the rules of, riding when you cross the timing match at the entrance of Zandvliet Road as they enter the team support zone. There is a timing mat. The time will stop for that team when the sixth ride across their timing mat. And then they will have 30 minutes grace period or free time. And they can take those 30 minutes or more. Of course, after 30 minutes, the clock will start counting again. And then their time will start again when the first rider checks out at the exit point of Ashton or the Bonnievale stop. Then once the team support vehicles leave the points or the support zones, it's just important that they follow the normal traffic rules apply. Just because you have that accreditation sticker on your windscreen doesn't mean you're immune to traffic fines. And there's plenty of time to travel between the points. And then no spectators or supporters, of course, allowed along that area. When I say that area, it's just that if you have family or friends that's not in the team support vehicle and they would like to see you in Ashton or in Bonnievale, they can park in the main road and then just walk into the support zone.
It's important to note, though, that space is limited.
Yeah, so I think it is. I mean, every year we want to accommodate more teams, and I think it's one of the things that came up quite heavily when we sold out entries in 13 minutes. People said, why can't you take more teams? And there's a number of reasons, but just one of the reasons, of course, is that for these neutral team support zones, we really have limited space available. So as you can see on the slide, we're saying don't be that guy. Try and set up in front of your vehicle and use the space available to you. And then just, if you need to spread out, don't spread out literally 12 cooler boxes a meter apart because you don't have 12 meters to use.
Exactly.
So when the team's support driver heads into Ashton, you will have to look out for Zandvliet Road, but luckily Ashton is a really small town with one main road, and there will be signage directing them into the support area. It's just after the cannery. They will then turn into Zandvliet Road, where they will be checked for their accreditation. As I said earlier on, it will take the team support vehicle about 40 minutes to travel from Swellendam to Ashton, but it will take the first team about 2.5 hours. So those team drivers can still go and have a coffee in Swellendam before they head over to Ashton. And then, as I said earlier, spectators just to park off the main road. This is just a map that you will receive in your pack, and it's indicating just a route for the drivers heading out on the R60 from Swellendam to Ashton. Just to take note that the only time the teams will be travelling against the flow of the cyclists is when you exit the Ashton support zone. You are going to be turning right, and the cyclists are going to be turning left, because you need to travel back to the R60. And as you can see on the slide with the little orange line and following, you will take the second turn off to Bonnievale, travel into Bonnievale, just follow the signs into the support zone, and then again from Bonnievale you will travel back. In fact, there will be just a small area, I think 1.5 kilometers, where you're actually traveling with the cyclist, where they will turn off to Drew, and the team support drivers will continue to the M2 and then of course travel towards Swellendam. Also, travel time just from Bonnievale to Swellendam should take about 45 minutes, and then our first riders are expected at the finish at about 1:30, and of course our last riders, as David pointed out, might be his team. I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say, David's not going to be in the 1:32.
Yeah, I think just lastly on the team support zones, we have had it in the past that a whole team withdraw at the Ashton or the Bonnievale points. If it's one or two of the team mates withdrawing, then it would really help us if they can go into the team support vehicle. If they don't have a trailer or the facilities, of course, to do so, then we do have a full sweep operation, and I'll talk about that just in a short while. And then we can pick them up. David, do you want to comment or add to that?
Yeah, I'm looking at this picture, and it's a great example, and I'm assuming that a lot of you listening tonight are going to be driving those team support vehicles. The picture you see here is a classic example of how we would like you to park if you can. Now, we realize that it's going to be pushed in some of the areas along the team support zone, so you're going to have to maneuver your cars in as best you can. But this really is a wonderful example of how people have reversed in, and they've used the space as creatively as possible. Teams will be able to get off the road there, they'll put their bikes alongside the cars, and then they will be able to access their cool boxes and clothes and whatever it is they need out of the cars themselves. So these guys are a big appeal to you. It is very crowded. There are a lot of teams who are trying to accommodate as many people as possible, use the space as sparingly as possible.
Fantastic, David. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I see lots of questions are coming through. Thank you for those. We will get to your questions at the end of the presentation, but we think a lot of the questions will be answered as we go through. So, yeah, keep them coming, but we will get to them in a moment. Let's talk about the route itself. I mean, this has got to be one of the most beautiful rides in the country. The guys up front obviously aren't there to look at the scenery. A lot of the guys towards the back end of the field are. But it's a tough day out, but it's magnificent. David, you're going to run through to the route itself. Let's break the news, what people are in for.
Right, Brad, yeah. I've done this a couple of times, so it's something that is, as the guys in my office will have heard me quote on more than one occasion, something that's close to my heart, especially Swellendam. I think if you look at the route profile, which is at the bottom of this slide, this is the key to how to attack the route. The first two climbs of the route come in the first half of the race, the two big climbs, and that is Trudeau Pass and up to Trudeau. So my advice to any team that's going out to ride is go out slowly. If you've never done this event before, make sure you keep something in the tank at the very beginning, because tell you what, if you hit those two big climbs at the beginning hard, you're going to hurt at the end. Right, let me take you through the route. You're going to leave Swellendam, you're going to climb out onto the N2, and you're going to have a short stretch on the N2 through to Buffelsrivier, where you will turn left and head down to the gorgeous little town of Seebrock. You'll pass through Seebrock, and then you'll take a left turn onto the Trudeau Pass. Guys, be careful on the Trudeau Pass. It's a lovely climb. It's not exceptionally long. It's certainly shorter than the up to Trudeau Pass, which you'll climb later. Take it easy, and the descent is not hugely technical, but please, we're asking people to be exceptionally cautious on that descent. There could be stones having come down off the mountain, and it's not always possible to make sure we've got all those stones out the way. They come down once the race is on and underway, so please be careful of that. At the end of the Trudeau Pass, you will hit a T-junction at Barrydale where you will turn left onto the R62. You've then got a stunning piece of road which takes you through to the base of the Op de Trudeau climb. Now, the Op de Trudeau climb is probably the biggest and hardest climb of the day, as you can see from the profile. It's a lovely piece of road, it really is, but when you hit that Trudeau Pass, know that you've got a climb ahead of you. Take it easy, get to the top of the climb. At the top of the climb is the feed zone that is not a free feed zone. You can pop in there, and there will be refreshments available. Renee's going to talk you through some of what is available at the refreshment station shortly. You'll then head down towards Montague. Now, the profile shows that it's downhill towards Montague and Ashton. Believe me, it's not entirely downhill. It's rolling hills, and there will be a couple of ups as you head down towards Montague. As I said earlier in this presentation, the road between Montague and Ashton is not in great condition. So exercise caution and be aware of the teams that are coming past you on the right-hand side. If you're like me and you're riding this thing socially, be very careful of the teams that are coming through and give them the space to pass through. You'll get to Ashton, that'll be your first feed zone. You've got 30 minutes. Now, I noticed a question that came through earlier was some advice on the feed zones. The feed zones, you have 30 minutes free. You may choose to pass through that feed zone slowly and exit immediately. There's no reason for you to stop. If you want to enter and exit the feed zone, you may do that.
You're not going to score yourself 30 minutes doing it. That's so important.
No, you're not going to score yourself. But you may be wanting to catch a plane in Cape Town at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and get back to the finish earlier, in which case you don't want to spend half an hour at each feed zone. Some teams choose to do that. Remember that we want you to ride through the feed zone in neutral. Right, you'll leave Ashton, and then you'll head on to the circle at Robertson, where you'll take a left. This, for me, is where the highlight of the entire event is. It really is absolutely gorgeous. You're riding down the Robertson Wine Valley. There will be cannas, which are these gorgeous red flowers at the side of the road at various points. There are lavender. There's that wonderful tree that grows in Pretoria. What's it called?
Jacaranda.
Jacaranda. There we go. Jacaranda. Jacaranda trees, and you really will find it is absolutely beautiful. It's generally flat right the way through. You'll cross Rooibrug, where there's a water station. Powerbar will have a water station up, and you'll be able to refuel if you need to there. And from there, it's some rolling hills through to Bonnievale, where the second neutral support zone is. Take it easy on those back roads. There's some rolling hills that will tire the legs out. After Bonnievale, you've got about 40 k's to get through to the finish. The last section of this race is the hardest section. There are 3 rolling hills. They are known as the 3 ugly sisters or the 3 ugly brothers, depending on which way you want to look at it.
There's a few other adjectives thrown in there too.
There are, and they do hurt. I've done this event more times than I care to count, and it doesn't matter how fit you are. Those 3 little hills at the end are going to hurt you, and if you spend too much on the Op de Trudeau Pass and Trudeau Pass, they're going to hurt even more. And from there, after you've hit the 3rd one, it really is just a run into the finish with a short 500-meter stretch of road up a tiny little climb to the finish line.
And the celebration start, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that's sort of some of the scenery that you will get to see. Let's talk about the stations and what's going to be along the way. Renee, I know you wanted to run through this and what's going to be at the various stations.
Yeah, at the Trudeau Pass refreshment station, we will have water. That's still quite early on in the race. Then heading out on Op de Trudeau, we will have the feed station. David made a comment earlier that it's not a free station. I think what he meant to say is that the time is ticking. So when you turn off, because that feeding station is just slightly to the left off the route, when you go into that feed station, that time counts towards your overall time. So there's no free time getting at that feeding station. At that feed station, we will be serving, of course, water and Coke and baby potatoes, bananas, banana bread, cheese rolls, so the guys can really stock up. And then in Ashton, they would be meeting up with their team support vehicles at the team support zone. Rooibrug at 145 kilometers, that would be another refreshment station that we just serve drinks. And then at Bonnievale, they'll meet once again with the team support vehicles. And then the last refreshment station on the route is at the Drew Hall. and that is also a feeding station where we'd be serving food like baby potatoes, bananas, and the rolls. So, and we have great support from some of the local companies like Rhodes and SSCar that's coming out to create a vibe and music, and even have had mist tunnels in the past. So I think it's just for the riders to enjoy that, yeah.
Let's just reiterate as well that there's only 2 sort of free stations where you can stop, and the clock stops, and that's at Ashton and Bonneville.
That's correct.
The rest, the clock is ticking, particularly for the guys and girls who are racing this thing. Bear that in mind. If you stop at one of the others, the clock is still going. You can't come afterwards and go, oh, we didn't know. We're telling you now. So the only 2 where the clock stops, Ashton and Bonneville.
That's correct.
The next thing we want to touch on is obviously something nobody likes talking about. It's important to have an event like this. We hope no one needs to use it, but it is important to have. Let's talk about the medical side of things, and if somebody does need medical attention.
Yeah, I think often people are not aware of the plans behind the scenes, and for this event and all the events that we organize, we really take the medical support very seriously. So for the Coronation Double Century this year, we will have 12 doctors on site and nurses. On the route, we have 7 ambulances with paramedics, of course, on those ambulances. Then at Bonneville, now that's just as you exit the team support zone, there would be advanced life support medical point. So, if there are any cramping, or no matter if it's minor or minor medical incident or scenario, we encourage the guys to stop there before they head out to Drew and those last ugly 3 sisters that we spoke about. And then we have a full medical facility at the finish venue at the showgrounds, and then also paramedics on our street vehicles. And the finish line, which is a couple of kilometers away from the finish venue, there will be a medic on site as well. I think what is important for us is to chat about what to do in case of an emergency. We have a dedicated line for medical emergencies specifically for the event. We want to ask support vehicle drivers and cyclists not to, in case of a medical emergency, not to phone the normal lines that's on your phone. There's many apps, ICE apps available. And the simple reason for that is because we have the dedicated ambulance on the route. Believe me, it's going to be much quicker for one of the event ambulances to get to you, and it's private ambulances, than it would be to call like a ER24, for instance. Not that there's anything against it, but we've got the dedicated services on the route. So important that they phone in a medical emergency. That number will also be printed on the race number and in the rider booklet, so make sure you save it on your phone before race day. And then if there are any general inquiries, or just I almost want to say anything that's non-medical related and that's of a concern on race day, please phone that number as well. That's our Joint Operations Centre. We refer to it as the JOC. We have in that Joint Operations Centre, we have traffic, SAPs, our team, medical call takers. Basically, we run the event from that Joint Operations Centre. So make sure you phone in. It's also, we encourage the team support drivers to phone us, because they are actually our eyes and ears out on the ground. So, if it's anything suspicious you see at the support zones or en route, of course, the spots that you're not supporting, cyclists, if there's anything of concern, just call us and we can dispatch, whether it's SAPs, traffic, whatever the case may be. I think just on the medical emergencies, a few pointers when you do phone in, if it does happen that there's a medical emergency on the day, is to stay calm. Give us as much details as possible. So if you're a cyclist and you have been on the route, most guys have the GPS watches. Try and give us kilometer markers or major landmarks so that it makes it easier for us to dispatch that ambulance. And then, really important, always stay with the injured person. I know it's a team event and people are racing to get 12 riders to the finish. It's important that somebody would have to maybe give up their race. Stay with the injured person until the ambulance arrives. And then, if for some miraculous reason, if it was a medical emergency that you called in, and then 10 minutes later, you feel much better, don't just continue with the race. I think that's for 2 reasons. Firstly, that we would first want to check you out, so a race doctor would come, or paramedic, and say that you're definitely okay to continue with the race. And then secondly, if you just leave the spot that we've been dispatching an ambulance to, that ambulance is going to be driving up and down and be a wasted resource that could be attending to another medical emergency. So if you've called in a medical emergency and it's no longer a medical emergency, just call us back and say we sorted and continue with the race.
Cool. So that's the medical emergency side of stuff, and that's very important. I mean, like I said, we obviously hope that no one does need it, but it is there if it is needed, and if you can follow those guidelines, it'll help everyone on the day as well. David, I think let's talk about the cut-offs. It's something we don't like talking about either, but obviously, just from a logistics point of view, every race has to have them for safety reasons as well. Let's talk about those cut-offs and what people need to bear in mind from a time perspective.
I think I'm probably more qualified than most to talk about the cut-offs, bearing in mind I've been cut off. Okay, the cut-offs are absolutely integral to the event, and it is about safety, and it has to do with compliance. We have to be on and off the road within certain times, and Renee has a huge challenge on the day, making sure that the event runs smoothly and that everybody gets back safely. So at Optritudo feeding station, we will have a cut-off at 10 o'clock. If you haven't made it by 10 o'clock, you will be put in the sweep vehicles and you will be taken back to the venue. I'm going to digress for a second. I'm getting prompted from the office in Cape Town to remind people that there may be a short surprise. If you enjoy the odd strong coffee, the Optritudo feeding station is a good place to stop. Not too long because you don't want to get cut off, but you might find some very nice strong coffee waiting for you if you need a caffeine boost when you get to Optritudo. Right, back to the cut-offs. The Ashton Team Zone cut-off is at 12 o'clock. The Bonnievale Team Support Zone will be at 2 o'clock. The Drew Refreshment Station at 3 o'clock. And then at the finish at 4 o'clock. So please bear that in mind when you're heading out on the road. Those cut-offs will be enforced. We will not allow you to carry on the route even without your number. It's vitally important that we take you off the road and get you back safely.
Let's talk about doing that, the sweep operation and how that does handle, like if somebody misses a cut-off or if they need to be picked up for whatever reason, whether they can't carry on or not. What's the process with that, Renee?
Yeah, I think most importantly is to phone into the JOC, the number that we are displaying on the screen, and then just to report, like it was in a medical emergency, tell us where you are. There are sweep vehicles on the route. Of course, there's not one, it's not a taxi service that's there in 2 minutes when you call, but we will have 7 day tripper vehicles with trailers collecting, whether it's for a medical, my apologies, not medical, whether it's a mechanical reason or just being unfit.
I've had enough reason.
Yeah, enough reason, yeah, that they can then phone us and we'll make sure that they get onto the sweep vehicle. Also, just again, if you have called us and requested to be collected by the sweep and then decide to continue, just call us back and do the same. Otherwise, we'll have the same problem as we would have had with ambulances. Yeah, and then just at the different cut-off points, as David pointed out earlier on, you're not allowed to continue the race. I know people have trained for months for the event, but unfortunately, when you don't make that cut-off, you have to get onto the sweep vehicle. And the simple reason is that we have been given specific times to be on the route with our applications for the event, and we want to stick to that. So yeah, you will be picked up by a sweep vehicle.
Cool. Let's touch on bicycles. So you still got some time before race day. Make sure your bikes are serviced and in really good working nick. But often and sometimes things do happen if you need medical assistance. David, I don't know if you want to run through what's on offer on race day.
Yeah, I really would like to run through the slide because I have a comment at the end of it. There will be mechanics at the start. We will have mechanical supports and with limited stock of certain items. Please bear in mind that there will be not a fully functional workshop, so make sure you arrive in good order. There will be mechanics stationed at the refreshment stations and the feeding zones, and there will be a limited number of mechanics that will be roving around the route. Now remember, folks, you've watched the Tour de France, you've watched the Giro d'Italia. We do not have the Mavic yellow vehicles following you. There are 250 teams, and as much as we'd like to support each of you, it's just not going to be possible. So, yes, there will be limited support around the route for basic maintenance on bikes, but make sure that your bikes arrive there in one piece and that you're able to get around the route. As I say, there will be support at the feeding stations and refreshment zones.
the thing that everyone's been dreaming of is getting across the finish line. We mentioned the nasty sting in the tail on the route profile, but when you do get over that, it's a lovely run into that finish. David, you're going to talk us through how to get there.
Yeah, the finish line is at the top of Eden Street. It's a short little climb. On any normal day, you wouldn't even notice it as a climb. But it's going to hurt. It takes you up and flattens out just before the top, and you will cross where there's a Welcome to Swellendam sign on your left-hand side. It's about 2 kilometers from the showground, and we've done this to finish out of town to avoid the traffic and the chaos that would ensue if we try to finish in the main road in Swellendam. A new innovation this year, I mentioned earlier that there would be backdrops at the start where you could have your photograph taken. As the team will cross primarily together, we are arranging about 200 meters after the finish line. There will be a backdrop where you can have your photograph taken as a team with a Coronation backdrop, and those of you that have made it to the finish line together can have a wonderful picture done, and then you can head on down in neutral down to the finish line. Please remember that once you cross that finish line, it is neutral. We will have marshals, and there will be signs that will take you from the finish line down to the showgrounds where your loved ones will be waiting for you.
Let's talk about that sort of movement to those showgrounds and sort of how to get into those showgrounds for the finish and where to get your much-deserved meal and something to drink and something warm afterwards.
All right, you're going to be coming down Murray Street, which is a steep hill, crosses the main road, and then you will see the first red arrow. Now Brad's got the second red arrow. Down Murray Street, right in front of you, you will see the M2. You will take a short left up a tiny little steep hill, which is really just there to punish those legs one final time. And believe me, I'm riding with you. It's going to hurt me just as much as you. You'll then go under a wonderful big arch, which will take you down to the entrance into the showground, where you will then be able to pick up your various medals, etc. And I'm going to get Renee to run through that in the next slide. You'll then turn into the chute, and there'll be a bike park. Renee will take you through what will happen once you get into the showgrounds.
Yeah, once you enter the showgrounds, you'll go through the Coke area, you'll be handed your medal. Just take note that your meal tickets and drink tickets, which is complimentary from Coronation, will be attached to your medal. You will then proceed and be handed a refresher towel, which is also a gift from Coronation, very kindly of them. And then you will enter the bike park area. Now, for the bike park, there are two options. Either you have to go into the bike park, so if you're staying at the showgrounds, you have to park your bike in the bike park. If you're not staying at the showgrounds, you will use a quick escape to enter the showgrounds. Just quickly on the bike park, I know we had some challenges in the past, but we have changed the system and have really built it up with a lot of manpower, and have a look at that security. So we believe that it's going to be a good system, and you can rest assured that your bike will be safe with us while in the bike park. It's also just a security and a safety thing for us. With over 3,000 cyclists, we can't really have those 3,000 bikes lying around the venue, because it makes it really difficult for the crew and spectators and cyclists to walk around. And of course, in case of emergency, you can't be tripping over bicycles. Then we will have a bike wash area. Muck-Off has currently sponsored a number of bike wash, and we did send out a mail, and I think for those teams that were the first to supply the team names, we're given a complimentary bike wash. On their race number would be a little pink sticker, and when they go through that area, there will be ladies and guys taking your bike and go and wash it, and it will be waiting for you in the bike park when you return. The bike wash option is also for sale at the showgrounds on the Friday. Then, once you have settled and have sorted out your bike, we will be serving a fantastic meal, a big improvement from what we have offered in the past. It's kindly sponsored by Coronation and Food Lovers Market. The meal will be served in the hall, and we will once again have the big Bedouin tent on the field with the tables and chairs where you can go and sit and relax. There will be a bar area. There will be a wine bar that's sponsored by Van Leeuwen Wines. And also just a little tuck shop. So if you have any supporters, we will have meals for sale to the public as well. They can go and chill there and wait for you, and just enjoy the festivities. Then I know this is David's favourite part of the day when he finishes his race, the massages. So David, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I do. We've been blessed this year. We've had a local company, a local initiative. It's now international, an organisation or company called RAIN, where they have trained up massage therapists from the local community. We will have 15 massage therapists available on the field. They will be offering complimentary massages to cyclists that have finished. That will be alongside the main Bedouin tent that Rena has spoken about. So please take the time and go and have a massage. It's a wonderful initiative that RAIN have come up with, and an incredible company doing a lot of good in the local community in Swellendam.
Cool. That's the finish. There's one medal that a lot of teams aspire to get, and I'm pretty proud of mine. I've done this race once and got one. So it's called the Charles Milner Medals, and I'm going to get David to tell you a little bit about it, because it's something special to sort of strive for on race day.
It is indeed. Brad, I've never raced this event. I've only ever ridden it. And for me, this event has always been about getting 12 souls across the start line, which is a challenge in itself, and then getting 12 souls across the finish line together. Charles Milner is a gentleman who lived out between Paarl and Stellenbosch on a farm and conceptualized this event many years ago. It was always Charles's dream that it was a group of people that traveled a journey together to finish together, and he used to do this. The original route that we rode back in the early years was something he did with his family once a year. Charles sadly passed away earlier in 2015, and we're very pleased to announce that this year his 3 sons will be participating, and they will be awarding the Charles Milner medals to the fastest Charles Milner finishers. Now, every team that finishes with 12 riders across the line, the first rider and the last rider must cross within 10 minutes of each other, will receive an additional medal to their finisher's medal. They'll be able to collect that medal at the finish line from 4 o'clock. So if you have finished all 12 riders together and you have finished within 10 minutes as a group, you will be able to go to the info counter in the main showgrounds area, and there you will be able to collect your Charles Milner medals. They really are something very special, as Brad has mentioned.
Yeah, and I think this year even more so with his passing. I think it's going to be a special medal to have, and I think that's something definitely to strive for. Let's talk about what all the racing snakes are after. Prize giving, that's going to happen at the showgrounds. David, are you going to run through that, or is it Renee's?
It looks like it's me. Right, there will be prizes awarded on the day, and we will do a prize podium presentation. In the male section, it will be top 3 teams. In the female section, top 3 teams. The mixed section, again, first, second, and third. Tandem section, first, second, and third. In the Charles Milner, the first male team and fastest male team with all 12 riders. Then the first female team with all 12 riders, and then the first mixed team with all 12 riders. And I must say, you know, it's very interesting. There are people that are going for time, but more and more these days we found it's about people trying to cross the line as a group of 12 that have started together and traveled a journey. It really is wonderful to take somebody that's battled in the middle of the race and nurse them through and get them to the finish line with the rest of the team. Very important, if you suspect that you are in the top 3, make sure that you get down to the info area where you'll be able to confirm before prize giving. And it is vitally important, if you qualify for a prize and you're not present, the team will not be awarded the prize money that is due to them in those top 3 categories of male, female, and mixed. So please make sure that you are present for the prize giving. We owe it to our sponsors that you are there and present and correct in your team kit. So thanks for that.
Cool, that's the prize giving, and then the thing that a lot of people are looking forward to, the official after party. That all the hard work, the months leading up to the Coronation double century, it's a great sort of night to sort of let your hair down and have a bit of fun. Those are the details there, David.
Yeah, so every year I get a phone call at around 11 o'clock from people wandering around Swellendam looking for the official after party. So this year, the fine people of the whipping post, and I don't know where they came up with that now. Somebody was reading 50 Shades of Grey somewhere. The fine folk of the whipping post, 26 Swellincredible Road, will be hosting an after party. They have craft beer, they have wonderful local wines. It's a great venue, and rumour has it, I won't say for certain, but rumour has it that there may even be a foam party later on in the evening. We've heard of this foam party that takes place. Something we've done with Swellendam Tourism, if you're staying in the town, to ensure that you don't head out after a big party, having been drinking, is that we've introduced the responsible tourism shuttles. So Swellendam Tourism and Westcrow have come to the party. There will be 3 shuttles, and we will give you the routes that they will follow. They will be in and around Swellendam, and you will be able to shuttle from the after-party venue back to fairly close to just about most guest houses and residences in Swellendam. 3 of these cars will be working on a rotation basis around Swellendam, picking people up and dropping them off. So you can catch the responsible tourism shuttle to the venue at the whipping post, and then pick that up and head home afterwards.
Just make sure you know where you are staying, because that's quite important too, especially on the way home. Not that we know that, but we've heard that does happen.
I think important here is that there's no entry fee. You don't need to book. Just pop in there. We expect it's going to be a fantastic vibe. It's a lovely venue, and the folk there really are looking forward to welcoming you and partying the night away.
Yeah, it is a great evening to sort of unwind, especially after a hard day in the saddle, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. David, obviously a race like this can't happen without your wonderful sponsors, and there's a whole bunch of them involved in this event that make it as special as it is.
That is very true, and I think our first and biggest thanks must go to Coronation Fund Managers. They took a leap of faith with us a number of years ago and climbed on board. We'd like to believe that we've done them justice. They have been the most unbelievable partners. They've had the faith in us. They've travelled the journey. They've invested hugely in a lot of the initiatives that you find at the finish: the food, the beer and drink that you will get, the additional towel that you get, the buff that you get. These are all things that are sponsored by Coronation. The water bottle, these are over and above everything else that they do with us, and we're hugely thankful to them. I'm not going to run through each of the other partners. You see them on the screen. Please, folks, support them. They've been great to us. And without the likes of these partners, events like this just simply don't happen.
Yeah, it is, and if you've never ridden it, you'll experience this. It's just, there's something about this race that's very, very special. So thank you to everyone involved there. And that pretty much wraps things up from an official proceedings point of view. We're going to open the floor to some questions now. I mentioned at the start and halfway through the presentation that there is a little questions bar in the sort of control panel where you can pop your question in now. But if you're like me and you've got a bit of look squirrel or a mind like a goldfish, if between now and race day you think of something and you need an answer, you can pop an email to info@coronationdc.co.za, or you can contact the office 087-820-7223. On race day, if there's anything you need, that's the number there, the 028-514-1457 or 67, and you can also get a lot of info on the website as well. Also, all the info we've run through tonight is in the official event guide as well. You'll get all of that, and if you've got any questions, please don't forget to reach out. We're also very active on social media. That's the hashtag to use if you're on Twitter, CDC2015. You can also follow us at the Coronation DC as well, also active on Facebook and Twitter. And you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to add the telephone number on race day, the 028. It's not a typo. Often people think it is, but that's a dialing code for Swellendam. So that is when we're setting up our joint operations centre. So just take note of that number.
Okay, cool. That's really important. Let's, that's pretty much the official sort of program for this evening. It's all happening 21st. We'll see you on the start line, but let's take a look at some of the questions that are coming through at the moment. Somebody asking, there we go. There we go. Advice on the compulsory stops.
All right. Renee asked advice on the compulsory stops. I think from a compulsory stop point of view, it really is up to each team to decide how they want to use it. You have 30 minutes in which you can sit down and relax, and your timing stops. Renee explained it earlier. The sixth rider stops the time coming in, and the first rider starts the time heading out. You may choose to just drift quietly through the support zone and carry on racing. That's entirely up to you. So please, folks, just use it as you wish to use it.
All right, question in from Jeremy. It's an important one because it's a new innovation in 2015. He wants to know, is the number board that you need to put on your handlebars compulsory?
Yep, the number board is compulsory for each and every team. Please, folks, you need to use it. We've heard stories that it's going to slow you down because it's going to cause wind drag. Really, this is like saying if I shave my legs, I'm going to go faster. Guys, it's compulsory for each team. So if it is slowing you down, it's slowing down the teams ahead of you. Make sure that number board, whether it's on the handlebars or whether it's on the brake cables, it's on the front. We need to know who you are from the front.
All right, let's look at the next question. It's from Robin. Robin wants to know, is there a facility to test the RaceTech race chips?
Yeah, look, if it's a chip that you have been using, there's no need to test it, but we will have our RaceTech crew at the 3 registration venues, and then, of course, RaceTech will be there on the morning as well. But if you have a chip, believe me, it's working. You don't have to test it.
All right, perfect. Question in quick from Shirley. You mentioned the free bike washes for the teams that responded. She wanted to know who those teams were. Obviously, they were emailed. They would know, and there's a pink sticker you said on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know right now. I can't recall who those teams were, but they will, in their race pack, their numbers will be identified with a little pink sticker. So when you open your pack and there's a pink sticker, you're one of the lucky teams. And as I said earlier, if not, you can still buy that option as well.
All right, perfect. There's a question here from David. I'm not quite sure. He's saying the first ride is 1 o'clock, not 1:30. As you said, is that correct towards the finish? That's when the riders are going to be expected?
I'm looking at René and René's looking at me. I don't know. I'll be out on the route still riding. I don't anticipate getting back much before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Ren, the entire event has been designed so that we concertina towards Montague and the Ashton feed zone. So in the Ashton feed zone, it then starts to spread out again towards the finish. So we expect the team that finishes starts at around 6 o'clock will be the first team that crosses the finish line. So those teams will cross in about 6 hours, 6.5 hours. The fastest team starting at 7:30, and we know that MT and Quebec have every intention of pushing this thing hard, should finish in about 5 hours. So, who knows? 1:30, it's somewhere in that area.
5 hours for the first half, pretty good, David. Oh, is that for the whole race? Okay.
Yeah, 5 hours for me for the first half.
Let's look at Paul's question quick. René, I think this is right up your alley. He wants to know, do the support vehicles have a route from Ashton to support zone 1 to Bonnievale support zone 2? I think we ran through that in the slides, and there is a map in their race pack.
Yeah, I think let's have a look at the pack in the race pack. There is the map and the detailed description of how to get between the points as well.
And then Warren also had a question about support vehicles. He wants to know, can a support vehicle leave Cape Town and stop at the feeding stops, i.e. not leave from the venue on race day?
Yeah, that's perfectly. I mean, you can actually leave from Montague if you want, as long as you get to Ashton before your team does, and as long as you have your accreditation on your vehicle. So just make sure that your team have registered and collected the accreditation, that you have it on the vehicle, and then it shouldn't be a problem.
Cool. Warren was also asking, are there demarcated areas in those support zones for the support drivers? And they aren't, and you want people to stick to them, don't you?
Yeah, Warren, to answer the question, it's demarcated into areas of 10 teams. So team 1 to 10 will have an area of about 80 meters. You have approximately 8 meters per vehicle. So bear that in mind when you're parking your car. Don't take up 15 meters, because then the guy who's supposed to be next to you is going to get highly upset and we end up with fisticuffs. So the team zone is demarcated in stretches of 10 vehicles, about 80 meters per vehicle.
Okay, Joris was...
sorry, 80 meters per section.
Okay, there we go. We've just got a question in from Joris. Joris wants to know, what are the rules to win that Charles Mulder medal? I mean, we touched on it. Do you want to run through that again, Dave?
Yeah, you need to finish all 12 riders within 10 minutes of each other across the finish line. So the 12th rider across the line will, provided that's within 10 minutes, will qualify you as the fastest time on the day.
All right, cool. Megan was asking, are all riders required to wear an ICE ID? Is it compulsory or not?
Look, it's not compulsory, but it would definitely assist us. From the event side, you have your race number on you, which is linked to our database. So if in a medical emergency, if you can't speak for yourself, we can still figure out who you are. But of course, it's a great product and would definitely encourage people to have it and to always wear it when they're cycling.
Jeremy wants to know if that coffee stop you were talking about, David's a drive-through.
I've mentioned that there may be some coffee available at the top of Dr. Trudeau. I suppose there's a drive-through, but do not expect a cappuccino.
Megan was also asking, are you allowed to pick up other riders who have stopped riding if they're not on your team?
Absolutely. Once they get to the support zone, and remember, you're not going to be out on the road. So if you're in a support zone and somebody else has bailed and their team vehicle is left and you want to give them a lift, absolutely fine. Okay? So by all means, but remember, you are only allowed to collect riders in the support zone because you won't be allowed on the route. Ren?
I think it's
Okay, cool. Jan's just giving everyone the heads up. He's saying the forecast looks rainy. I've learned never believe what a weatherman says, but if it does rain, Jan's saying pack rain kit. It might be needed.
Yeah, I think, look, I've grown up in the Cape and in Swellendam. It's an area that can have 3 seasons in one day quite easily. We've had rain, we've had wind, and we've had hectic heat in 1 year, a couple of years ago. The current weather forecast is showing rain. YR is notoriously accurate. However, YR will change its mind over the next 10 days. So I'm inclined to start looking at that YR weather report from about next Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay, here's a question, and I'm going to answer it because I know the answer to this. Have you ever got 12 across the line, David Balaires? And the answer to that question is yes, because I have one of those medals and I was on that team. So there we go. All right, this is an interesting one from Warren. He says, does it apply if they've only got 8 riders? Obviously, if they don't have a full 12, do they qualify for Charles Morgan?
No, you have to start and finish with all 12 riders. Again, a prompting from my office, when it comes to team riders that have dropped, and can they ride with your team? So the rule is that we don't want people bunching up into large groups on the road. If there is a rider that is in trouble and needs some help towards the finish, by all means allow them to hook on the back of your group. What we don't want is racing groups hooking onto each other. This is an event that is about a spirit, and it's about a spirit of conquering 202.8 kilometers, and there will be an argument about that later. So yes, if there's somebody in trouble and you can help them get to a support zone, by all means allow them to jump onto the back of your group and help them through.
Okay, great question from Clinton. He wanted to know, are the cut-off times based on your start time? Obviously, with that staggered start, how does it work, isn't it?
No, it's not. So the cut-off times that we displayed earlier on, and that's on the website and in the magazine, that's actually the clock time. Yeah. So you need to make it to Dr. Trudeau at 10 o'clock, to Ashton by 12, Ponyville 2 o'clock, Drew at 3 o'clock, and of course the finish at 4 o'clock.
All right, perfect. Another quick question from from Clinton. He was asking about split calculators. Are there any split calculators available?
My understanding is we're going to have an app, and I'm looking at Renee for support here. My understanding is that you will be able to track the riders around the route. More information will be emailed to you over the next week from our friends at Racetech. But they should be able to. Are there split time calculators? No, we're going to leave that to you when the teams come into the support zone to SMS your next crew waiting at the next support zone.
Okay, cool. Question in from Liam. He's saying his team didn't specify their choice of team feedbox versus team support vehicle before the deadline due to admin error on their side. He's just been appointed as team captain now. He wants to know, is it possible to make that selection online now?
Look, he doesn't have to make the selection online, but he just needs to instruct his team when they go through to registration, whichever one of the 3 registration venues, is just to chat to one of the team leaders and request whether they want to have accreditation for team vehicle or for a team feed box.
All right, perfect. That's Liam's question. Here we go. He's asked, no, it's just David's being David. Is it a foam party for real or not? PGP might boycott if there's no foam. I see we get into the serious questions.
Okay, so Michael, that question comes from you. I've got to be careful how I answer this one. PGP will not be disappointed, let me put it to you that way. So if PGP were to attend that party later in the evening, they certainly wouldn't be disappointed.
I love it. Richard wanted to know, is there a place in Swellendam on Friday, the night before, where you can store your bikes to be collected on race day?
Yeah, we have partnered with a couple of long-haul bike transporters that is using facility at the showgrounds to store bicycles. So I would just advise Richard to go to our website, have a look at those offerings, and then to select one of those services. That's the best offering, I would say.
I think what René is saying is you might need to touch base with one of the long-haul bike transporters and use their lock-up facility on the day, not necessarily take your bike up with them. But certainly I think that's something we could consider for years ahead, is looking at a facility for the teams to rack their bikes the night before and then arrive on the morning and have their bikes present. So that's something we can look at. But I would contact one of the long-haul bike companies and see if you can leave your bike with them, and that will be secure.
I love this question. Tom's obviously expecting that there are going to be some people blowing up in his team on race day. He wants to know, what are the cut-off times for team members that finish after the first 6 to also get team time?
10 minutes. So if you want to be part of your team, you finish within 10 minutes of the balance of the team riders. You may still finish as a rider and receive a finisher's medal and be considered as a finisher. So in many years I've finished many years with 12, which was the question earlier, but I have finished many years with less than 6. And we then get considered as 6 individual finishers and not as a team finish.
All right, next question's got to do with the feed station at the top of Volta Trudeau, and it's from Thomas. He wanted to know, is that stop compulsory? Do you have to stop there?
No, definitely not. Because it's one of the stops that the clock isn't stopping, it's not compulsory. So for teams that choose to continue, they will simply continue straight onto the route. And then for teams opting to go into the feed station, they would have to turn left to follow the signage. As I said earlier on, it's just slightly off the route. I actually like the driving that was mentioned around the coffee earlier on, because it is very similar to a drive-through. You literally go off-route, drive-through, and exit again.
All right, Warren's question is, how do you get accreditation for your driver's vehicle?
Okay, that would be handed out at registration. So when you're collecting your race numbers, you would also get it back for your team support driver. It will have the accreditation, it will have the maps, and then also the meal ticket, which we didn't mention earlier on, is that the team support driver also gets a meal when they finish in Swellendam, and that ticket would be in the race pack as well as the ice voucher.
All right, next question came through from Zahid. He wanted to know, is team drafting a serious offence? David, you were talking about that.
Yes, it is. Teams are not allowed to draft each other, and this talks to David, who passed some comments earlier. We do not want teams drafting each other. There's a huge difference between an individual hooking on with a team because they need some support to get through to one of the support zones, and teams drafting each other. Please, folks, this is a team event of teams of 12. Allow teams coming past you to move past and drop back, or move past them. What we don't want is to have teams of 200 or 300. I have ridden in the middle of the field, I've ridden at the start of the field, and I've ridden at the back of the field. I know exactly what it is like. So please, if you're not racing to win, there's no reason to hook onto the back of a team and try and break some ridiculous record. Allow the teams that are coming past you, who are obviously faster because they've caught you, to move through, and then carry on at your own pace.
All right, question in from Jan. He wanted to know, what time does the first team start? David, you're normally in that team, aren't you?
Yeah, the first team is one of the Coronation social teams, and they will be going off at 5 o'clock. And for those of you who are up early, you will see me on the start line at 5:01.
Okay, perfect. Question in from Jeremy. You mentioned no gazebos in the stops in the sort of feed zones. Are they allowed to put a branded feather banner or umbrella at the feed zone position?
So it's all about safety and it's all about space. So put up a feather banner by all means, one, and make sure that it is secure. Okay, make sure that it's pegged into the ground and tied down properly. And likewise, if the wind is blowing, don't put up umbrellas. If the wind is not blowing, then have an umbrella in your hand. But it is about safety, it really is, and about space that you've got. So the reason we're not allowing gazebos up is that they do take up an exceptional amount of space, and we don't want people imposing on other people's areas. So it is just exercise kind of sensibility and no more than one feather flag. But remember this, your team knows where you will be. To within 80 meters, they will know exactly where you are because we designate 80 meters per 10 teams. It's not going to be difficult to find you.
Okay, Nick is asking from what time can they drop the feed boxes on race day at the start?
We'll be there from about 4 o'clock in the morning. So, but I don't expect any team to arrive before 5. So, yeah, anytime from 4:30 we'll be there. And then they must just make sure that they hand it in before 7:30. So if you have been tasked as a team support driver to hand in the box, make sure you hand in before 7:30 because that's when we close up the crew truck and transport those boxes up to Bonneville and to Ashton.
Well, Megan's looking forward to the foam. She wants to know, will team vehicles be allowed to park inside the venue or in the public parking after the race is finished? Where do the team vehicles need to park?
Team vehicles will not be allowed to park in the venue at all. There's parking at the school. As I pointed out, if you had the N2 behind you, looking at the hill behind Swellendam, on the right-hand side is a school where parking is available, and that is where all team vehicles will be required to park.
Yeah, and that's for Friday and Saturday. Because we're setting up the venue, no vehicles will be allowed at the venue on Friday as well.
Correct.
So just follow the signage directing you to the parking.
And Megan, just so you know, we believe there's going to be a foam party there, and if PGP have anything to do with it, it's going to be an exceptionally large foam party.
I love it. Yasmin wants to know, will any external massage services be able to be set up?
Anybody wishing to set up massage services will need to contact the office. They will need to speak to Chad, but at this point, unless you're massaging your own team, there's no commercial opportunity to set up massage services now. We're partnering with the local community and a local business, and it's being offered free to everybody. So please, let's respect the local communities.
Janine's asking about the sort of the zones and putting up gazebos, wanting to know why can't they put gazebos up? It's a real blessing for support crew as well as the cyclists when they do arrive in those neutral zones. Renee?
Yeah, look, I think it just comes down to space issues again. As we pointed out a couple of times now, there's limited space available, and because it's not a purpose-built venue, these areas, there are some of the sport vehicles would see when they park in their spot, there's actually very little road reserve, and some areas it's bigger, so it's just difficult for us to say up front, you know, team 1, 2, and 3 can put up a gazebo, but team 5, 6, and 7 can't. So we also want to be fair to all teams, and just having looked at those two areas, there is really not a lot of space for gazebos.
Liam sounds like they're planning on eating lots on race day. He wants to know, are teams allowed to make use of both support vehicles and the feed boxes?
No, look,
how much do you want to eat?
Yeah, how much do you want to eat? Look, I think it's actually, I mean, we won't object against it, but I think for the team itself, the way that the support zones are going to be laid out is that when you come into Ashton, once you've crossed the timing mat, your feed boxes are going to be to your right. In Bonneville, it would be different. You're going to travel through the feed or the team support zone, and it would be set up at the end. So I think if you have a vehicle, you're going to meet up with your vehicle. I think it's not at the same place. The boxes are not, we actually haven't said it before, the boxes are not going to be laid out as the vehicles. And we're doing that for security purposes. And just to obviously manage and pack up the boxes and pack it back into the truck. So all boxes would be located in the same spot. And I therefore would say it's not really going to pay off for you to have a team support vehicle and a team support box.
Right, question in from Richard, trying to make sense of this. Richard saying, if your team doesn't complete with 6 riders, do the riders who do finish get an official time?
So, Richard, yes, the answer to your question is they do. They get an official time. You do not get an official team time. So, as I said earlier, I have finished a number of these events where I have got a time as an individual, but we finished with 5 riders. So the 5 riders that do finish will receive individual times. Remember that if you finish with 6 riders, but they finish outside of 10 minutes of each other, they will also then receive individual times as finishes. But the team, whatever the team name is, will not be considered as a team finisher, individuals only.
Okay, this is from Janine. It's not a question, it's just a fact. Ice vouchers are in the team captain's pack, not in the team driver's pack. So there we go. There's some...
I see that our staff at the office are working late tonight and are obviously tuned in. So thank you, Janine. Thanks for that.
Right, Alice has got a great question. It's about the feed zone in Ashton and Bonnievale in the 30 minutes. He wanted to know, is the 30-minute feed zone stopping, is that for Ashton and Bonnievale combined or only at Ashton?
No, you have 30 minutes, Alistair, 30 minutes at each of those zones. So you have 33 minutes from the time your sixth rider crosses in Ashton and 33 minutes from the time your sixth rider crosses in Bonnievale.
And it's not a combined hour, it's 30 minutes at each. So if you
30 minutes at each.
So if you use 15 at the first one and 45 for the second, you're going to have 15 minutes added on.
Correct.
Okay, so that's, I think, is important as well. Have you been able to get any road closures, the route through the tunnel? And the first stop is notoriously dangerous as teams concertina.
No, we don't have road closure. Certainly not through the Kochmanskloof, which is the one you're talking about, through the pass. We're asking teams, and remember that we're on a fairly substantial arterial road, the R62 that leads up. It's a tourist road. It's that time of year that it is fairly busy. It's very difficult to close that because there are very few access points across for people that live there. So we've been given permission to use it, but we don't have road closure on those. So vitally important that the teams are aware that they must stay to the left of the centre white line.
Okay, here's one from Vadna. Vadna wants to know substitutions at registration only?
Yeah, definitely. As we pointed out, next Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday at the Swellendam Showgrounds. Just go over. There are almost what I call it a penalty fee, 200 Rand, if any changes are made to the teams at this late stage, because the teams have missed the cut-off. So just head over to registration, and that's where you can do the substitution and changes.
Yeah, is it possible to have more shade at the end of the race on the field? If it's sunny, there's very little shade for the riders?
I must say that does confuse me because certainly the Bedouin tent we put up last year wasn't full at any point. I sat up on stage and I saw a large number of tables empty. We go to a fairly substantial cost to put up a very big Bedouin tent, compliments of Coronation. So bear that in mind. Let's see how it goes this year. If we need more, we certainly will look at putting up more.
Right, Tom's asking, is it possible to put up a club gazebo at the finish? If so, do they need to reserve space?
I think so.
Yes, they do. They would need to contact our logistics office, and they would need to do that before Monday morning. They would need to send an email to chad@cycletour.co.za. No clubs. There's obviously limited space on the field, and we need to make sure that it is allocated in accordance with those that have applied and those that have paid for spaces on the field.
All right, cool. And one question that's come through quite a bit, and it looks like we've got to the end of the questions, is will this presentation be available after the fact? We'll be popping out an email tomorrow to everyone who was on this with details on how you'll be able to access it and watch it. Chances are it will be available, so if you want to send that link to your team, if you were just the team captain today and you want them to watch it, we will definitely make it available online in the next couple of days. And David's saying 200 Rand each?
Yeah, that's for the changes that will be made at registration. You'll pay that fee of 200 Rand per change.
Cool. All right, and I think that's about it. No more questions. If you do have any questions, please do pop them onto that email. It's info@coronationdc.co.za. You've got all those details as well. Please do be in touch if there's anything you're unsure about, whether it be foam related or not. Do get in touch with the office between now and race day. Have yourself a great final build-up to that race, to race day. Enjoy your taper. If you haven't started training it, now's probably not the time to cram some crazy long rides in, but good luck, safe travels. If you're not in the Western Cape and you're traveling from all over the country to Swellendam, best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you there. Donald wants to know, can we bring our own foam?
Donald, I'm going to defer to PGP on this. You can bring your own foam if you like.
All right, Toby was saying my question, so I'm just going through. There we go. Toby wants to know, when does Rule 5 apply?
I'm going to have to... Rule 5, Toby. I'm going to ask you to type Rule 5 in. I don't have it with me.
All right.
Maybe our team at the office can just help us.
If somebody in the office can send that through to us, Toby, we can answer you.
Here we go. There's a few of them coming through. We'll keep it tidy. We'll just give you the abbreviation. HTFU. That's the big girl pants. There we go. Thank you very much. And I think, here we go. Someone's asking if it's single file between Montague and Ashton.
Again, it comes back to safety, folks. We're asking you to be sensible on the road, and we're asking the teams to be sensible. Yes, we would like you to ride single file between between Montague and Ashton. It will allow for the teams coming past. That way, we can pass 3 teams at a time. If you're clogging the road, the chances are you're going to push the faster teams into a tight situation. So we would ask you please to respect single file through there.
Here we go. So just a couple of compliments coming through. Neville saying, awesome webinar, great initiative. So well done, team. And yeah, there we go. Jan saying rule 5, wear enough shave cream.
yeah. Thanks, Jan. Rule 5, enough shave cream is definitely required.
All right, we're going to call it a night. If you do have any questions, once again, info@Coronation DC. That's where you can be in touch. We look forward to seeing you down in Swellendam, and safe travels. And we'll see you all soon. Cheers. Thank you very much.